All right, it is Wednesday. It is Hump Day, and I am here with Sara Haines.
Happy Hump Day, Brian.
Happy Hump Day, Sara Haines. Humping with Haines.
Oh,
No,
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 let's
that's
not
not
do
going to
that.
work. All right. Welcome to Behind the Table, Sara. How are you today?
I'm great.
All
Thank you,
right.
Brian.
Let's start with some politics,
Yep.
because today we started on the show, and we've been talking about this the last couple of days, the ballroom. It's all been about the changes to the White House. You've been to the White House, right?
Yeah, well, just like once or twice, other than taking a tour, not
Yeah.
the January 6th type of tour, but
No.
like a real tour years ago. But yeah.
Yeah, I got to go to the Christmas party last year, and I walked through the entrance that was just demolished.
That makes me sad I hadn't put together it's that entrance.
That's the entrance. It was sad to see. And you were questioning about the optics of this. We were talking about the fact that the president is suggesting that the Justice Department needs to pay him $230 million, and that he said that perhaps he'll use that money to either donate to charity or perhaps pay for the ballroom, is basically how it's been put out there. Along with this, his bailout to Argentina. You brought up a point today about how long will the working class continue to support this? The working class that many believe make up the bulk of the support in the Republican Party for him.
Yeah, well, we've spoken many times about how did the Democrats lose the working class people? When you look at the MAGA movement and all of that, it was about America first. Don't let people come into the country and steal our jobs and create jobs and manufacturing and all this stuff. And now you've watched that President Trump won on these issues and nothing's changed, and it seems to be getting worse. And then you have the optics of not only this ballroom, but him suing the DOJ. Like, he's technically a billionaire. That's not from his mouth. That's from Forbes. So you've got a billionaire, and he's now got the government shut down. People aren't getting money. They're waiting on like soup lines, like food banks. They don't have food to feed their families.
SNAP benefits are going to expire. Yeah.
Yes, and then you're looking at the country itself, even taking emotion out of it, like, is trillions of dollars in debt. So the optics of this, an opulent ballroom, a money grab for more money from a government that's already so far in the hole, it's not even funny, and people that are worse off than they've ever been. This is the first generation of young people that won't be better off. The separation between the haves and have-nots, like I think Senator Sanders said it the other day, that like Elon Musk has more wealth than 53% of the population combined. I mean, like, stuff is bad right now, and this is what the president is choosing to do. It's disgusting.
Do you think that will matter to anyone? I guess that's the question. Do you think that will start to move the needle for people that support him and that movement to say, wait a minute, this isn't what I signed up for?
So I think we saw some of that changing when we saw how the mass deportations of air quoting criminals, as that turned into something else, I think people were like, whoa, this isn't. In fact, I think a lot of people that voted for Donald Trump were people that were fearing now that they could stay in this country.
Right.
So I think that started to turn the tide. We heard a lot about cost, and now we're dealing with the tariffs and the government shutdown. I don't know how patient they stay. I don't think they care about a ballroom. I don't think people are necessarily aware or dialed in.
Right.
But suing the government when it's feckless at this point and it's so far in the hole, I think eventually someone has to say, this isn't what we signed up for, especially like the bailout to Argentina while the farmers are hurting. The majority of this country, a lot of it is farm country. It's the middle of the country.
I guess the question, a lot of the times we have these setups for hot topics and they end with the question, is this going to make a difference? And a lot of times I think the answer tends to be maybe not. Alyssa said something on the show a couple weeks ago, and it got a lot of attention. She said that she believed if the election was held today, Donald Trump would win by the same margin as he won last time. Do you believe that? Do you think things have changed enough? I mean, we talked about the protests we saw last weekend. Does that matter, or are things pretty much the same as they were last November?
So I love when Alyssa speaks because she's very deliberate. She's thoughtful. It's scary when she said that. I remember feeling jarred. If I were putting my money on it, I would not agree with her on that. I do think there's a lot of buyer's remorse when it comes to how this election was run. Purely, again, starting with immigration. The majority of people, I would say our entire table was on board with, if you're going to go find criminals that shouldn't be here or who are repeat offenders and get rid of them, show me the far left person that says, oh no, please leave them. Like, we all agreed. I also gave them a minute when they started to deport people and were just saying, no, trust us. These are criminals. But then you find out a small percentage were. And then you start seeing them in towns. Every local news article that pops up on my phone is ICE marching into areas that it was really aggressive and kind of snatching people up. You lose a big chunk of the population that was saying, we agree with you, to, oh, no, that's not what we signed up for. I also think the fact that they believed Donald Trump could get the prices down. They believed that if you had a smaller government mentality, which is funny because under the guise of nationalist MAGA, it's a bigger government than maybe it's ever been. But I think they thought, oh, we won't do as much social stuff. We're going to, things are going to get easier. They're getting worse. The housing market, the lack of jobs for people that would like to have them, the government shutdown where everyone is sticking their heels in, these subsidies that are going to expire. I mean, I don't think people would turn up at the polls the same way. The hungrier they get, and I mean that literally and metaphorically, the further they're getting from Donald Trump.
You mentioned Bernie Sanders. We had him on the show this week, and I thought he was very compelling and interesting. He always is. He's always charged up when he's here. What did you think of what he had to say? Alyssa teases you and calls you a Bernie bro from time to time, which makes me laugh.
Yeah, well, we love it because there are a lot of times where people, Alyssa and I align on a lot of things when it's common sense. So
right.
People say, oh, she's a Republican. She's a Republican. Yes. And I remember the meeting where Alyssa goes, are you kidding me? She's like a Bernie bro when it comes to corporate taxing. Like, I do deeply believe.
You're nuanced in your beliefs.
Yes. The divide between the haves and have-nots should bring everyone to their knees in sadness and grief. The fact that people struggle so much in this country, the wealthiest country in the world, yet the power and the money is held in the hands of so few. And I think that, it would be so easy. We're not going to scare billionaires out of this country. There's like 840 of them. It's the best country in the world. And I say that by comparison. It's not perfect, but go find me another place that they want to be. They don't. They're going to be here. But tax them fairly. What they won't feel, even the blink of an eye, the littlest bit, could make life-changing differences. Literally, one billionaire in this country could solve world hunger around the globe. Done. Bye. To have that power, but the problem is the greed and the power that comes with that. It's intoxicating and people are addicted to it. And I just think that's where the danger comes in, because I could never live the opulent lives these people are living, knowing I'm evading the tax systems and the programs and watching people handle 3 jobs who can barely pay for dinner that night. Like, it's disgusting, and it's honestly only gotten worse. If you look at a graph of the separation between the haves and have-nots, that has gotten further and further and further apart. Something has to give.
There was another conversation we had on the show today about the Netflix documentary that's out now called The Perfect Neighbor. You're very close to this story. All the hosts had watched it and were really engaged with it. And we talked about it on the show today. It chronicles the fatal 2023 shooting of A.J. Owens by her neighbor in Florida, told entirely through police body cam footage. We covered the story on The View when A.J.'s mother, Pamela, came on in 2023. And then later, both Pamela and A.J.'s son, Israel, joined us in 2024. I remember that. That was really touching. You stayed in touch with Pamela.
Yes.
Tell me about this.
So the story itself was tragic when this all happened, hearing about a mom marching up to a neighbor's door and being shot through a door.
Horrific.
It was disgusting. Meeting Pam, her mom, AJ's mom, has been it's not worth it to lose a life over this, but one of the silver linings has been getting to know Pam and AJ's beautiful children. It's Isaac, Israel, Africa, and Titus. And through that story, actually, one positive part is we were able to get the 2 older boys into a grief camp called experience camps. Mm-hmm. And although Isaac didn't go back again, Israel went back again this year, and he's part of that family that has been so helpful. This documentary was so powerful because as someone who was already dialed into the story and the family, what I saw on this was so shocking and jarring for so many reasons. Aside from the tragedy and the horrific nature of the actual crime, you are witnessing this beautiful community of people and the law enforcement that responds over and over to this murderer neighbor. I'm going to call her the murderer neighbor's phone calls. She is one of the most vile human beings I've ever witnessed, and that's from the footage that you see in this documentary. And just to see, life is going to happen. There are illnesses, there are natural disasters. This did not need to happen. But through this documentary, I think it's going to illuminate the story in a way that will bring more people on board what the problem was and that it exists, and some of the problematic laws like Stand Your Ground, which this woman had no even grounds for claiming. I mean, it's so clear in there. But it did bring up the statistics that go along with that law and how sad and tragic that is in and of itself. But I would encourage everyone to watch this because Whoopi said it today at the table. There was so much beauty in when you follow a national story, you know the main stats. When you see it on the ground with the names, the faces, and the people involved, it will change everything for you. It won't leave your heart. It won't leave your mind. And this story was so beautifully and powerfully done. I was texting with Pam earlier, and she said, my phone is ringing off the hook in the best way.
That's great. That's great.
So it's
interesting. When we do the Hot Topics meeting, sometimes we'll point out something that's trending and people are talking about. And this is the #1 movie on Netflix right now. And I'll say, let's all try to watch it so we can talk about it and know what we're saying. And usually 3 or 4 of you do, and one of you hasn't gotten it to it yet, and we kind of kick it down the curb a little bit. And this morning, all 5 of you were dying to talk about this. You all watched it. You were all really moved and felt like it was an important thing to discuss.
Well, and just to add one button, I'm not going to lie, I hesitated to watch it. I was a little
hard.
nervous, and I knew the story, and I thought, what more could I learn?
You're in the story.
Yeah, I am I'm so dialed in. I clearly know my take. The extremes of my feelings did not change. The color it added and the beauty and the nuance to the community and the relationships shed a light on a narrative that's not always told. And I think that is some of the most impactful parts of this documentary.
All right. Let's switch gears a little bit because I heard you had a teaching moment with your daughter. Tell me about it.
So last night, Sandra came and she just said she wanted to talk about something because she said she had lied with her friends at school. They had talked about something, and I don't want to betray her confidence, so I won't get into it, but it's about something people are watching. And she said, someone goes, I'm getting bored with it. And a bunch of people were like, yeah, me too. And Sandra said, Mama, I agreed, but I'm not bored with it. And so we got into a pretty deep conversation about how there's only one Sandra. And that if she doesn't speak up with her voice, who's going to represent her? I said, if you're going with what everyone else is saying, that voice is that's represented in spades. But what about you? So we got talking, and then I was able to land the point by describing my job, which she obviously knows. I work at The View.
Right.
I started describing the whole show was 5 women, and that's when she got a little. She digressed. She's like, so no boys are allowed. So Alec and Caleb can't be on The View. And I was like, okay, if that makes you feel better, yes.
Well, we used to have Guy Day Friday. We could bring them back.
Then she goes, and Papa can't be on The View. I go, okay, stake your claim in the ground. It's female only. But then I went on to talk about how my whole job every day is you throw a topic out, whether it be about this show that she's talking about, whether it's boring or not, or if it's something else about raising kids or politics. And then you have to tell people your view. I said, I can't go up there and just, oh, yeah, what they said. Because the whole point is to spotlight how important different views are.
And much like your daughter, you often have uncool views.
Very much uncool views.
But you stick by them.
I try to stick by them.
Yes.
But it was cute because then she went on. I tried to say that, Sandra, if someone, she didn't want to feel weird and she didn't want to lose friends. And I said, sweetie, I can tell you today in your long life in front of you, if a friend decides they don't want to be your friend over a show, was that a good friend? And so it was so sweet because she was really dialed in. And sometimes with kids, you know this.
Yeah.
You're having this moment. You're like, oh, here's that parenting moment. And you're ready to land a lesson. They're like, oh, there's a squirrel. And you're like, never mind.
This one landed.
Yeah. This one, she was so curious because I think she was getting something that it was just us staring at each other. And it was beautiful. I went to bed and just thought, I think she heard that.
Yeah.
I hope she heard that.
All because she's really into the White Lotus.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was it. And,
yeah, definitely show them the White Lotus.
Yeah, the other friends were
Totally
like, "No,
fine
we're
for
over
kids.
it." But
we're
they
over White Lotus.
Yeah, but they were into it.
That's a joke, people. I didn't show my kid White Lotus.
That's pretty good. All right. Speaking of pop culture and things that are cool or uncool, I've been dying to talk to you about this because you and I are both Gen Xers.
Yep.
And Reality Bites.
Love.
One of the all-time great Gen X movies.
Yep.
Ethan Hawke on the show today. Interestingly, his co-star in that movie, Ben Stiller, on the show tomorrow.
Yeah.
And for years, this has bothered me because this movie, for those who haven't seen it, it's a love triangle between Ethan Hawke, Ben Stiller, and Winona Ryder. And Ethan Hawke plays a very cool slacker. He's in a band.
Yeah.
Doesn't really have a job. And
Janine Garofalo, and what's the other?
the guy from White Lotus. Steve's on.
Steve's on.
White Lotus.
Who PFLAG,
Season 1.
Parents and family for lesbian and gays. That's a quote.
Yes, it is. So here's the thing. In that movie, the whole setup is that she should be with Ethan Hawke and not Ben Stiller, who is a preppy, slightly nerdy, has like Planet of the Apes figures on his desk, television executive who's kind of considered a sellout.
Do you feel like that's you?
Yes, I do, actually.
Okay, because now it's all coming.
And the girl should have, she should have chosen Ben Stiller.
No,
I'm just bringing this up.
So I deeply disagree on this,
Okay.
and this is why. Ben Stiller played the character the world will tell you is better for you.
Mm-hmm.
Ethan Hawke was the one that was better for her.
Now, as I grow older and I watch movies like this.
No, you're thinking about your daughters.
I'm
That's what
thinking
you're
about my daughters,
Yes.
and they should end up with Ben Stiller and not Ethan Hawke.
Because if the parents get involved, everyone would end up with Ben Stiller. But Ethan Hawke and her, like, are so connected on a spiritual and, like, raw sexual tension kind of way that, like, he's troubled. He's imperfect.
What about the dorky, nice TV executive? I think
Back
there's
to
nothing wrong
Ethan
with
Hawke.
that.
So I just totally see it differently. I think that it's not always that clear, and you don't always get an Ethan Hawke and a Ben Stiller, but the world will always tell you to go with the Ben Stiller. The Ethan Hawke, the depths and the highs and lows of life will show up more in that kind of person.
See, as I get older, I find myself rethinking all of the choices that my pop culture movies made. Like, for instance, Dirty Dancing. She should not be running around with Patrick Swayze. Her dad is right. Jerry Orbach is right. Put baby in the corner.
No.
He's like a shifty dance instructor who looks 30 years older than her.
Right, and it's probably not going to last till marriage. Ethan Hawke is definitely going to be marriage material in Reality Bites, but you're right. But it's a hot summer of dance. Whoever learns to do that? Spaghetti arms.
I saw Rent on Broadway. Pay your rent.
I do
Hippie
realize
punks.
that you're having some
Come
kind
on.
of midlife crisis
I think I am.
now.
Yeah.
And by the way, you're pretty much putting yourself into characters in all these movies,
Yes.
which is the damning point.
I seem to be the villain.
You have to remain outside of it.
In Titanic, Billy Zane had some points.
He literally abused her.
That doesn't mean his wife should be
Never
having
let go,
sex
Jack.
in a car on the ship.
Don't make fun of the scene.
Yeah.
No, that is paint me
All
like
right.
one of your French girls.
Real men make their own luck. With that, thank you for joining me today, Sarah. Tomorrow I'll be back with Anna Navarro. And
I bet you'll be talking about the same stuff.
I don't think she's seen any of those movies, but we'll see you then. Thank you.